OSHA Regulation 29 CFR 1926.454 outlines training requirements for employees using scaffolds. The regulation states that the employer shall have every employee performing work on a scaffold trained to recognize the hazards associated and understand the procedures to control or minimize the hazards. This video has been developed as an aid to ensure the safe use of scaffolding at the mill site and outlines the basic scaffold safety, electrical hazards, falling object protection, material handling safety, load carrying capacity, and reviews the Domtar Johnsonburg Mill scaffold policy. This is an example of welded frame scaffold. Notice that the scaffold is plumb, squared, and rigid. It's not leaning in any direction. The foundation is solid, and the legs rest on the screw jacks with base plates. When not on a paved surface, wooden pads called mud seals are required to be used. Mud seals help prevent the scaffold from settling into the ground by distributing the force over a larger area. Notice that all the scaffold legs are braced and the braces are properly attached. The work platform is planked with scaffold-grade lumber or a commercial deck system. The planking must extend at least 6 inches, but no more than 12 inches unless secured. A portable ladder or attachable ladder must be added for access to the scaffold. Never climb the frames of cross braces. The most important safety factor for a scaffold is the tag. A red tag put in place at the beginning of the erection. When the scaffold is finished and deemed safe for use, a green-yellow tag is added to complete the initial inspection. Never use a scaffold that does not have a complete scaffold inspection tag. This scaffold is a tube and clamp type. The same safety checklist applies. The scaffold is solid, posts are plumb, square, and rigid. All types of scaffold should be tied back to prevent tipping when the height is 4 times the base width. The use of electricity is so common that we sometimes take it for granted. Anyone working on a scaffold must be conscious of all electrical hazards in the area. Working on scaffolding creates the additional hazard of electrical shock as the employee is normally touching a metal frame. When working on a scaffold, ground fault protection should be used with all electric power tools. When moving a scaffold, the crew's attention is often focused on avoiding equipment on the ground. Care must be taken to avoid contact with overhead wires. A safe distance from the black cables is 3 feet, while yellow and orange cables require 10 feet clearance. One of the most serious hazards of scaffold use is the danger from falling objects. The most efficient way to protect other workers from falling objects is to restrict the area around the scaffold by placing red barricade tape around it. Everyone working on scaffolding performs material handling tasks at one time or another. Access areas should be kept clear of obstructions. Materials on the scaffold should be stacked neatly to prevent a tripping hazard on the scaffold platform. You should move material to the work platform by using a hoist rope. Do not attempt to carry anything up the ladder. Scaffolds are designed to support their own weight plus 4 times the maximum intended load. OSHA uses 250 pounds as the weight of the normal worker plus tools. Most frame or tube and clamp scaffolds with wood planking are rated at 25 pounds per square foot, light duty. The work area on a frame scaffold is typically 5 foot by 7 foot or 35 square feet. To figure out the maximum capacity of the scaffold, you multiply the area of the scaffold by the plank rating. In this example, the scaffold has a capacity of 875 pounds, meaning that it's able to hold 3 workers plus tools. The Johnsonburg Mill scaffold policy applies to all Domtar employees, outside contractors, and visitors that are required to use scaffolding. Only trained and qualified personnel can erect, dismantle, or move scaffolding. The red "Do Not Use" tag is put in place at the beginning of the erection process. After the initial inspection, the crew completes both sides of the yellow-green tag indicating the client, job, site, date of erection, name of erector, acceptance of load schedule, and restrictions. It is the scaffold user's responsibility to verify the scaffold tag prior to use. The user will utilize a personal fall arrest system safety harness on all green-yellow tag scaffolds over 4 feet. Do not use a scaffold if it's not plumb, squared, and rigid. Do not work on a scaffold that has not been inspected and tagged with the green-yellow tag. In addition, do your own visual inspection prior to use. This includes, but is not limited to, looking for ladder access, ensuring the scaffold is fully planked and guardrails are present. Do not use a scaffold that is more than 4 times higher than its base width, unless it's tied or anchored to another structure to prevent tipping. Do not climb the scaffold other than by safe means of access provided. Never climb the cross members of the scaffold. Do not carry materials as you climb. Be sure to face the ladder and maintain 3 points of contact at all times while climbing. Do not work on a scaffold if you notice any damaged components of the scaffold. Always keep your work area free of trip hazards. Do not allow tools, materials, or debris to clutter the work area. Do not attempt to extend the working height by planking guardrails or using ladders on the scaffold deck. Do not violate clearances from electrical power lines as previously outlined. Do not overload the scaffold by more than its intended load rating. Do not ride rolling scaffold while they're being moved. Scaffold training is a critical part of safety management at the Johnsonburg Mill. Please ensure you do your part to construct and properly label scaffolding for the safety of our employees and contractors. This concludes the Domtar Johnsonburg Mill Scaffold Training.